All right, so autoimmunity, what is it? I know some people have probably heard of it. They're not quite sure what it is. And I come across that a lot. And sometimes I take advantage of to maybe the things that I know and the terminology I know, but I am surprised that there's a lot of people who don't know what autoimmunity is. Is it something to do with the immune system? Is it something to do with cars? You know, whatever. Kind of confused. So I wanted to show briefly a brief idea what it is and hopefully clarify some misconceptions. And the reason I bring this up is because it's not uncommon for me to review files and patients that come in the office with a plethora of symptoms, many medications, maybe supplements too, and not getting better. And when you dive deeper into a medical history or even look at their lab work, you can see where, oh, this person was diagnosed with a autoimmune thyroid problem 10 years ago. And that's kind of frustrating for me because to me, if you spot autoimmunity, we got to do some things to take care of it. Autoimmunity is basically the immune system, like a wildfire, and it eats up or chews up your body, yourself, and it just spreads and it can get worse. And you can lead to many other conditions. So if you spot it and you don't do anything about it, I think it's just a recipe for disaster. So really quick, what kind of happens is we have this gut, we have this intestinal system, we have the small intestines, we have the large intestines. You know, in the small intestines is where kind of all the action occurs, where you digest, where you have little hairs that help digest food. If you want to remember that, just remember me doing this. It's the little hairs that help you digest and absorb, get the nutrients you need. This is why we use B vitamins and minerals, because you need those things to absorb, to get energy for your body. Anyway, that's where that stuff happens. And in the large intestine is obviously where we store garbage, where we absorb water, where a lot of good bacteria live, and that's how we excrete and get rid of other garbage that we shouldn't have. So it depends who you read, but most of our immune system is in our gut. You know, 60, 70, 80% of our immune system is located in our GI tract. And for good reason. There's a lot of business going on there. There's a lot of things, good and bad, that we want to be able to keep in the intestinal tract, not floating around in our body. So normally foodstuffs would come in, you know, and we digest and break stuff down, and we get rid of it. Get rid of the garbage, absorb the good things, and everything's happy, and, you know, we go about our lives. So what's been shown is through in a more stressed environment, this is through the literature. This is one of my favorite information in the medical journals is about when our body makes more stress hormone due to poor diet, stresses with blood sugar, anemias, mental emotional stresses, even like poor thinking, all just a lot of different reasons. That increased stress hormone can actually decrease our immune system in the gut. It's like having a protective army on the front lines, and when that stress comes, they'd be like half of them go take a nap. And when that happens, we're more susceptible to problems. And this happens over time. I mean, it's not like quick. So when these foodstuffs can come in our small intestine now, what happens is there's weaknesses, like a chain link fence. Stuff can sneak through. And this includes bacteria, this includes like little yeasty things. Bacteria, yeast, that's a yeast. Anyway, that's not good. We probably heard of leaky gut. Medically or medicine says that doesn't exist. But when you look up their journals, it actually says intestinal hyperpermeability. Fancy word for leaky gut. So it's all over. So if your medical provider says leaky gut's made up, people at the Live Well Clinic are nuts and they're making that up, just read the journals, man. It's in there, right? And so when that happens, this is where the immune system kicks in. And these things are getting through, and the body says, okay, I'm going to attack these. The immune system attacks these. And that's good. You want that. The problem is, if this leakiness keeps going, the attacking continues. So a good example is the proteins in gluten and thyroid disease, or Hashimoto's, if you've heard of that. So pieces of proteins can get down, it'll attack this, but over time, the immune system will say, hey, the proteins here look just like the proteins here, so it all must be bad, so I'm going to attack it. And it's actually beating up the thyroid. And if that makes sense, you'll see that the thyroid is not the problem. It's the immune system beating up the thyroid. And medically, people start feeling, mainly women at this point with thyroid example, will go in and say, I'm gaining weight, it's harder to lose weight, I'm retaining water, maybe I'm losing part of my eyebrows, or it's just not right. And maybe medically they look at their labs and they're a little bit off and they say, yes, you have hypothyroidism, here's your medicine, go about your way. If they're really astute, they'll do more testing and say, oh, you have Hashimoto's, which is autoimmunity of the thyroid, but here's your pill, go about your way, nothing we can do, you deal with it for life. That's scary to me, it really is, because what we know what autoimmunity can do can lead to such severe diseases down the road. And there's even an argument that cancer is an autoimmune disease. I believe that autoimmune disease, or the body breaking down, is going to be the new cancer, if you will. Everybody's going to have it. I currently see probably 3 out of 5 people that have autoimmune disease. So that's kind of frustrating. But the good news is that's why we're here at the Livewell Clinic. I'm fascinated with autoimmune disease. It's kind of I'd say a passion of mine, because I think there's so much we can do for it, and there's a lot of people that don't know about it. They hear the word, and again, what does it mean? I don't know. But this is the people that we'll see they'll have chronic anemia and they can't get better. Severe vitamin D deficiency, that makes me worried. Thyroid disease, celiac, intestinal stuff. You can have all these symptoms and not be diagnosed with a true disease, but you're heading that direction. So don't take autoimmune disease lightly. If you hear the word, or if your family member or friend has heard the word autoimmune disease and you're told, can't do much about it, not a big deal, we'll keep checking it, you got to start now. It's a wildfire starting, and we got to contain it, or else it's going to keep going and going. One quick thing I wanted to show you that I tell people, I think like a 6-year-old, so I got to see goofy graphics. All right, this is, I call the Autoimmune Umbrella. Pretty. Medically, they're typically worried about the diseases you have. Thyroid disease, go to this specialist. Arthritis, go to this specialist. Osteoporosis, GI disorders. I mean, we have all these specialists to treat the outcome of the disease. I would argue all these things are basically the same thing. It's all under the umbrella. If you have MS, you have celiac, you have some thyroid disorders, if you have anemia, arguably some people say cancer, even Alzheimer's, some GI stuff. A lot of these mechanisms start the same way. I mean, I know I simplified it, but it's basically that. You get these dysfunction in the immune system. Now, we can be genetically prone or not. Either way, our immune system is wreaking havoc on ourselves, and medically, your symptoms may be addressed, but the true cause is not being addressed. And that's what frustrates me. But I get excited because what we do is, I would say, reverse autoimmune disease. We're getting to the source and we're stopping it. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes willpower, but either that or the alternative. So if you have a family member or friend who has symptoms that aren't getting better, who's been on thyroid medicine for 15 years and not getting better, who's been diagnosed with autoimmune disease, have them watch this. Have them just think differently outside the box. Some people usually say, well, if this was such a big deal, why doesn't my medical doctor tell me this? Because they don't know, frankly. They're not trained this way. It's not trained to look at underlying disease. And frankly, it's going to be taken over. A lot of us are going to have this autoimmune process. So that's why you need to seek out help for yourself. Prevent the source, come back to the gut. Do the things that allow your body to heal and not break itself down. And that's why we're experts at doing that. So, hope this is helpful. Any questions, please email. Autoimmune's a hot topic. I enjoy it because it's very educational to me, but also I can help you. So, Thank you again for your time. We'll see you soon.